All right, we're live. We'll bring it up. See if we can get some people in, Matt, with all the people we invited. How's it? Now, did you get any of that? You didn't get any residual hurricane stuff like they're getting up in.
No, it went around us. So it went through I guess through Tennessee, but it seemed like when it came through this way, it kind of died off and then picked up some steam when it got back up to the Yankees.
It's crazy. So I have literally not watched the news in like months. My wife told me on Saturday how there was a hurricane down there. I never paid any attention. I come in this morning, the guys here and the girls tell me that there's flooding out in the Northeast. I just have been oblivious to all this stuff. I'm trying to. I'm trying.
Down in Mississippi, Louisiana are still. I mean, they're still neck deep in water. Well, at least like waist deep in water in the neighborhoods, and no power to millions of people, and it's hotter than a mother too. On top of it.
Cool. We just are going. So YouTube just went live. LinkedIn went live. Let's make sure we get everybody else out. Great report this weekend too, man. So do you have that on an auto send that comes out that early in the morning?
No, I'm just up that late.
Did you get up that? Did you set it out manually like that?
Like this morning? No, I got up. I got in a sentence one this morning because I was at my grandkid's house and I was too tired. I was getting kind of groggy-eyed, so I waited and got up early 5 o'clock this morning and just sent it. But I had it prepared last night. But
gotcha. Well, it was a good wake up for me because my phone dinged. I didn't have my. We were out with investors last night, so it actually woke me up. There's a build conference going on with IT companies that are trying to change different things in Chicago. So we had a bunch of people interested in our company that we took out to dinner last night, and it went a little later than I wanted it to.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
It's an interest.
Yeah, it's good. All right. So everybody, welcome to the MX Lumber Materials Exchange. Hey, Nick from Chicago, how are you doing? Please go over to the bleep blopper and say who you are, where you're from. Thank you for coming on the Materials Exchange site. We appreciate it. This is probably our 25th show. It's gotten a lot of support, unbelievable amount of viewers come in every day. I get calls afterwards and all that. Matt and I do this every noon, every Thursday. Yesterday, Matt Beamer, Greg Riley, and I do a show. So it's really gaining some good traction. We go through a lot of Matt's lumber guide. We talk general lumber and go from there. So let's kick it off. Matt, you and I were talking before we started. I made a comment this week to my friends that basis spread is so wide, somebody must know something, right? And all of a sudden you come in, you see, I saw all kinds of people changing prices on our exchange, and a buddy called and said, hey, I heard there's some kind of tax that goes up on Canadian lumber coming up in that November area. Don't know what that means. I'll try to find more information about it.
It's supposed to be an increase in the tariff.
Yeah, something like that. So I think that's one of the things, but
Canadians expect that it's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, who knows, right? I mean, everybody was leaning to one side. We'll see, but it's interesting today for sure. So one of the interesting things about basis, we're having a lot of companies calling us outside the lumber, big houses out of New York and stuff, interested in getting on the platform to take advantage of basis trading, because now they have liquidity in a platform where they don't have to go through other people. But people are starting to notice this, etc. You got any comments on the basis at all, or what's your thought?
Well, I think it's just it doesn't make any sense when you can buy September lumber for $519 and you can buy Western SPF for $400 in Alberta. And I just heard, just while I was talking to you, I got a couple of email flashes that one guy bought 5 cars out of the east, the 2x4s at $360, and went back and bought 8 more because he liked it so much.
Yeah. So I mean, that makes sense. Hey, Craig Webb, hey, from here, Craig, you that was a great report that you did, and you guys both put that together on the different stumpage taxes that I read on LinkedIn in the different provinces, and that really is a good. I just want to give kudos to you. It kind of really, we were talking about that and fumbling around with it last week, and that really helped put together that idea on that. So Matt, let's talk a little bit about inventory. The guys yesterday were saying at a lot of reloads in the Southeast, we talked about phantom inventory, right? And this kind of is species wide, where there's a lot of people that historically hadn't been buying inventory. They stuffed a lot of these reloads full of inventory so they didn't get caught in what they just went through the last 6 months, right? So we're hearing people calling reloads. The docks are pretty full of stuff. That also has to do with labor and other things. But what are you hearing on inventory at different places?
I'm here that it's moving, but it's still just there's so much that's on order that's still not arrived yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it still appears to be a wall of wood on the mill side and on the consumer side. With you kind of watch a block or two come off of the wall every once in a while, but still the foundation of the wall is still there, which is mill over production and not necessarily the mill production, but the bottleneck in getting it through the job sites. Tubs was the top of the list this week.
Yeah, and I said Craig just said Russ Taylor did write that, and Russ did write it, and I got to tell you, it was a good. So if you guys got a chance, go to LinkedIn and read what Craig put out that Russ wrote at that. Yes, yeah, so inventory at high levels at reloads. There are some places though up in the Midwest. I found one that some person that's doing basis trades through us was able to put a bunch of wood on the ground at. So there are some reloads that have availability. So let's talk a little bit about the market, and we'll talk about that from a high level. It seems like the low trade is out of the market, and today there's a little feeding frenzy. When I say the low trade, that cheap price that everybody gets, that's well below what the advertised price is. I think in the Pacific Northwest, they've cleaned up some of the studs and some other things they need to move. Western spruce is still kind of caught moving. They still are moving some stuff off. There's a little talk of an export market last week, but there's always an export market, as Matt Beamer said, when prices get this low. China and other people are always willing to pay a bottom number for things, right? I heard some Europeans didn't want to take pricing to people that they had just negotiated with on a regular basis. It landed on the ports. People gave them the numbers. They said, we're not interested in taking that low a number. I don't know where that's going to go. Eastern mills are moving some stuff. Wholesalers are long right now. They own inventory. I can tell by the social media they're putting out. They are talking the market up. They're long lumber. People that, it's like asking the barber if you need a haircut, and that's fine because that's what they do for a living. So let's go through some of the items, and let's take a look at your composite first. I'm pulling this one up. I didn't pull yesterday's composite up, but anything interesting on there, Matt, that we should know about?
Well, the thing that's coming up, the next FTP is at week number 38, and that is historically that's going to be around the late September, and it's going to be just a flash dance crash, whatever, whiplash back in October.
Flash dance like where the girl pulls the chain on the shower. Flash dance from 1980.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so keep your eyes open.
Hey, so just for new people that have just joined, can you tell them a little bit about the FDPs first, as we go into the other charts, because we have a bunch of new people on here today.
Well, if you look at the graph, you'll see there's a blue line and a black line. The blue line represents the current market, what the cash market has done. And I go back 52 weeks on this graph here. Go back, shows you a year in the past, the year in the future. So it's a 12-month forecast with the past history, so you can see, well, how did it do at those marks last time? So the black line is the forecasted decision points, and those are really don't look at those. They're just for timing. So look at the highs and the lows and see where it looks like swings are going to occur, and you can anticipate when the market's going to make significant runs, and then look back and see, like last year at week number 37, we made a little high. Week number 44, we bottomed. Then we went up all the way into week number 22, which is April.
Yeah, it's interesting talking to Matt and Greg yesterday. Matt had a good comment that basically, I was looking through my notes here, his business has finally normalized again. We went from this extreme 2.5 months ago to this market 2 or 3 weeks ago where everybody was chasing their tail, taking care of problems, where we've kind of, he said from his standpoint, his market's finally leveled out and back normalized again, right? Which is a good thing. And I think that means maybe we have a little upside here. I don't see anything tremendous. I don't see moves like we made the last time, but that's just me and that's my own opinion. So take that for what it's worth. Let's jump over and look at the next chart, Matt, here. And that will be our
surprise.
let me make sure we see that one. There we go. That's the Southern Yellow Pine chart. Sorry, I don't have my cheater glasses on today.
I'm glad you picked that because there's a typo in that headline. So I got 20.
Yeah, the 20 footer.
20 up 20 instead of just 2020.
Yeah.
But
So tell me about this. It looks like we leveled out. What's the real thing that you see going on in Southern Pine right now? I see a lot of offerings on wides out there, right? But I think some of the narrows have gotten some play on them because of the truss business. What is this chart telling us?
well, it's telling us that we're just like everything. It makes a clearer bottom because it's all two before base kind of picture. So, and its truss business has been very strong, which kept it kind of stable and up a little bit. But during that time, the 2x6 kind of hung in there tight for a little bit, but for the most part, 2x6 and wider didn't firm with 2x4. So that graph's a little deceptive. It actually looks more like, when you take everything into consideration, it looks more like a spruce chart where it's made a bump up for a week and then kind of came off. But there's just there's just a lot of wood there's a whole bunch of wood that's being moved around. I went on a trip yesterday from Charlotte to Raleigh to Charleston, South Carolina, and then back from Charleston, South Carolina to Charlotte this morning. And I was on 6 interstates, and
Yeah.
there was lumber all over the place. It was every variety of lumber shipping, but I thought, well, for as much as I saw, there's not nearly as much as there is out there. But it does show that the market is beginning to get fluid again. And whether it has upside potential or not, I'm not a big firm believer in the market rallying strongly from here. I think we got a better shot at making our October lows simply because people still just don't have the space to make a significant buy. But you think now we're in our 3rd or 4th week of this inventory liquidation, so we're going to come up on a time when people are going to be suddenly gone from adequately comfortable and feeling overstocked to feeling like they're underexposed or undercovered and overexposed, and they're going to have to buy again.
Yeah, because I'm getting the feeling some of these buyers that I talked to 4 or 5 weeks ago that said they were going to come in the next week and buy and then didn't. And these are some of the larger companies that have to deal with a corporate that either tells them to flip on the switch or flip off the switch. And I think there's probably some people in there that are going to be covering.
Think about what they've done since they identified the time that they wanted to buy, and now what have they done? Did nothing but sell lumber. They haven't bought any lumber, so that inventory is getting out of balance. So, they're not. I mean, they think about the big guys that don't buy anything for a week or don't if they spend a whole week or two liquidating inventory. They could easily run that thing down by a third in a hurry.
Yeah, and we've seen it on the exchange. A lot of people have been liquidating inventory into the exchange, and if people were on it, you would see there's some pretty amazing deals done the last few weeks on here, both on the buy side and the sell side. Let's bring up the next chart up here, Matt, to talk about. All right, here's the Canadian SPF chart. Maybe this is a little bit. You see that little hiccup there in week. That week?
I think that's a great representation of what the market's really actually done. Right at that week number 31 FPP, we got a little bounce, and it's just going downward. They're calling it sideways, but it's not looking sideways. It's looking weaker because I heard a guy yesterday. What Mill yesterday had was in the low 400s firm, and he took 5 cars yesterday at $50 off, and he's back to firm today. So
yeah, which is crazy because anybody that looks at the board and sees that they could have sold it where they're at, but this price is slowly starting to sneak up, and that a premium is coming out of the cash market by the cash slowly starting to move up toward that CME thing. And then we've got expiration, a long weekend and expiration. Long weekends are always interesting with the lumber market, what they can do, right?
Spooky.
It's spooky. Let's flip the next one up there, Nick. Next chart.
Osb.
Crazy one. I kind of went trolling around to the different stores this week, and is this one the Osb chart? So we had really people blowing out OSB 2 weeks ago, and then one little print up. So I'm having a hard time. I'm seeing still OSB all over the place. 716
Yeah.
seems to have cleaned up a little bit, but I'm seeing some of the other thicknesses and other panels out there, wide or 4x9, 4x10. But it seems to have found a range to trade in. And has been what we're seeing is a lot of 716s moving all over between historically people that were buyers are selling into our platform and they're selling back to distributors and other people, right? So it's an interesting push
Mhm.
pull right now going on in OSB, but I don't know much else than that. How about you?
And OSB, this is the time of year where OSB typically gets pretty flat between now and October. And the FTP graph really shows it well, because if you look at the spike that happened in lumber from week number 31 to 38 on the FTP, it's a bigger move than OSB had made over that same period of time. But it just shows you that OSB tends to be more flat, and it's not a time anybody's going to build a massive inventory position. And the mills have been trying to get out of contracts, and people and suppliers have been trying to get out of contracts. So I think the next month anyway, September is going to be it's going to be interesting to see how the mills deal with having less contracts and playing on the open market. And I get the feeling they're kind of fiddling with numbers and don't really have the order file to back it up.
Let's bring up your the framing package composite and talk a little bit about what you're hearing from your little. I mean, I really enjoy when I sit in and listen to your group of your what do you call your group again?
They're LLG lumber PhDs.
Lumber PhDs, and it's an eclectic group of individuals, both on the buy side and the sell side, the size of the market, who they're doing. You got home builders small, home builders big. You've got retail buyers small, retail buyers big. You've got mills and everybody on it. So what has been your feedback over the last few weeks of what they're saying going on in the housing market? I mean, one of the big trends that they talked about is they're busy, but they keep getting different items that are hard to get and keep pushing those houses through the cycle, right?
It's in our lesson today is going to be on that topic. We're going to have like an open forum for everybody to talk about anything possible in your from the time that you deliver your lumber to the time that a guy's going to be able to close the house. What disruptions, what shortages, what delays are you seeing, and what do you see coming up? Because I mean, nobody said tubs. I had a guy call me last week and said that they got 250 homes. If I'm not mistaken about it, I think this number's right. 250 homes in the Richmond, Virginia market area under construction, and every one of them were on hold waiting on bathtubs.
That's crazy. That's
And
crazy.
that's one person. When I called one of my consulting clients yesterday, we were talking about lumber, and I said, "Have you checked on your tubs yet?" And she said, "No, we got everything ordered for this order's on the way. We're working on next year's project." So she calls. Sure enough, he was like 8 weeks, 12 weeks out. Or I think she said 8 weeks, which is better than most people were saying. So
Hopefully they don't get soaked on those tubs when they buy them.
he just never gives up.
So yeah, no, interesting. Well, we kind of this one was kind of pretty quick. I'd love to sit in on that call again today, Matt, if I can. I pick up a lot of
Sure.
stuff on that. That's
Yeah, one of the things those guys are really getting good about doing is, and this is a good lesson, I think, for all of us in the sales business or in the marketing of lumber back and forth with each other. These guys are this group has 19 in it. The first group's had 25. And one of the things that the guys that they do without even being coached to do it, everybody's name is under their picture. So if you're participating, you can see your name. And what they do started from the very beginning. That when they talk to somebody, like one guy's in Southern California, one guy's in Texas, they call each other by their names and said like, "Well, yeah, Chris said something a couple of days ago," and they remember from past meetings, and it's really caused them to be able to open up with each other and become really confident in each other. It's been remarkable to see how they made that happen by themselves.
That's really cool, Matt. Well, we're going to keep this one short today, but I want to say, on the exchange, we've been really pushing people, and actually for one of Matt's sessions, I got to sit in on. I kind of learned a lot. One of the things that I learned, and it's funny, I've been bringing this into, I talked about it at dinner last night with a group of people. I didn't use any names, Matt, but I said, I know buyers out there right now that have been in the business for 20 years or more that are afraid or don't know how to put active bids, verbally bid with somebody. They right now they take that power that they have and that information that they should keep internally, give it to a third party to make bids for them, right? And which is fine in some cases, but really people should internalize that and keep that power internally. So our exchange, materials exchange, mxlumber.com, is helping them to basically you can bid on an item or sell an item, offer on an item without having to talk to a human being that's trying to pull a firm number out of you, and that's pretty darn good at doing that, right? And it lets you see how the market is and the size of the market and what's going on. So I saw Bob put up his email. You can get a hold of Bob. You can come to mxlumber.com, hit register, and we'll get you on buying and selling lumber. There's no cost to be on. You just have to you pay a flat fee of $100 per truck if you buy or if you sell. Go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say that the method you just described of how people have that relationship with their buyers or their sellers, and they've done it for a long time. That's a 50-year-old concept in this lumber business.
Yeah.
And we all still feel like we have to have that contact. And I think the reason why is if you're sitting there at your desk and somebody emails you over an offer, then you've got that email from them right in front of you, and it's fresh on your mind. And it's going to be hard to break that habit of letting yourself get dependent on a few people the other reason they're good suppliers for you because they know the answers to your questions.
Matt, you know the cool thing. Here's what I used to do. Hey, Matt, it's Ashley at this lumber company. I know you're shopping a bunch of people, but we are going fishing and hunting next week. So if I can get you this firm at this price, you'll do that, right? Now I know you need 3, but can you do 10 at that price? And don't give it to anybody else, Matt, because I'm the best guy out there.
Don't forget to ask me about my kid's baseball.
Yeah, and how was your baseball? You want to hear about what my cat did? And I got to show you my new fly rod, right? So my point is that's all fun and good, but you know what? Last night we had a conversation. In 2004, a person went out and did a survey and asked 100 people if they needed a smartphone. You know what their answer was? No, they didn't, because smartphones hadn't been really popularized yet, kind of like digitally trading lumber. Do you know what happens? What the answer is if they were asked today if they need a smartphone? They couldn't live without them, right?
Yeah.
So I think digitally trading lumber is where smartphones were in 2004. Do you need to digitally trade lumber? No, we like doing it the old dial-up way, right? But everybody realizes that that's changing, right? And it's.
You know what's going to have to happen is the person that tells that story, or I'm going to call it makes that excuse, just doesn't have confidence in themselves to be able to make the decision. They need to have somebody else sell them on that order, like post-purchase reassurance. They've already made up their mind they're going to get it, but make me feel good about it. But
I really learned that sitting with your group of people. They were like really open and honest, and some of them were like, "Hey, we do this because we're not really sure and comfortable how to put an active bid in the market, right?"
Yeah, you got to feel confident. There's no high five. It's like, thank you for the order, and yeah, it's a pleasure to be blah blah blah. You're the greatest, sweet and fluffy chocolate and all that kind of thing, and then they forget about the one that phone call they made 2 weeks ago that says, "You just shut my panel line down because your truck's wasn't here." And
no, I think people, if we were talking about different options, I think it's good to use materials exchange and lean on other people with it. And eventually people will be leaned on enough where a lot of people, most of it will go digitally. That's our feeling. Again, in the group of investors we went out last night and other things feel the same way. So, we're here to stay and we're going to keep pushing.
I agree. There's an advantage to a wholesale distributor and an office wholesaler, a broker with no yard, and a producer, and everybody serves a purpose. And if you're fortunate enough to be one of those people that is large enough and can pay your bills on time enough that you can buy from mills and office wholesalers and wholesale distributors, by all means, use them all. And the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of them are good friends of mine. So I think they all serve a purpose, but anything with technology, I think everybody will migrate for. There's 2 things that people want to do in life: save time, and even though money's down there, save money. And that's what we help them do, is save time and money. And over time, and saving time and money is a big thing for people. Somebody just asked, Judy asked, how can we sit in on Matt's call? Matt, I don't know. Is that you tell me?
Yeah, that's at this point that's limited to it's part of the LLG PhD class, and we're in class number 11 of that class. And it seems like Judy, I think Judy was in the class, but I don't remember. But
Matt, maybe you should do what they do on some podcasts right now. They let people sit in for the first 10 minutes and then they go off to their only their users and they say, if you want to sit in for the rest of it, sign up.
that's
Sign up.
kind of like that.
You know what I'm saying? You let people sit in for the first part of it and you put the hook in there and then you say, hey, if you want to sign up for the rest of these, here it is. But I look at it's worth whatever you come up with. Maybe contact Judy and talk to her and whoever else wants to be on it, because I think it's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah, we got about 70 people right now that are participating from the classes, and normally after this class is over next week, we're going to start an inner circle group or whatever, something that's going to be people from that, limited to those people that bought that extra LLG PhD class, because they want to stay together and keep swapping ideas. So I'm just going to be a moderator. And
yeah, I love it, Matt. Well, I appreciate it. I want to get together with you too, because I know you've worked with a few people. We're going out at the big BCMC show is coming up in Omaha in a month, and we're bringing a big crew out there.
oh, so I'm gonna be there too. Good.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And anybody who's on here, I would suggest look at the BCMC website. Anybody in the truss business, component business, that's a great thing to attend. Omaha is a great town. The group that runs it does a great job, and I know we'll have a booth there, and we're probably going to have 5 or 6 people there, hopefully, if this thing can stay open and go. And you can meet us there live, and we could talk to people on the ground and show them our digital exchange.
Cool deal.
All right. Well, everybody have a great week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.